Discover the incredible moment when a millionaire helped a poor girl and changed her life forever. In the small Midwestern town, Sarah stood at the edge of the graduation stage, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The summer sun beat down, but all she felt was the weight of her family's struggles. A heavy cloak wrapped tightly around her shoulders. She could see her mother in the crowd, her tired eyes searching for pride through the exhaustion of 2 jobs. The smell of warm grass and blooming flowers mixed with a bitterness in her throat. This day was supposed to be magical, but for Sarah, it was a bittersweet reminder of reality. That was when Jake walked in. The doors swung open with a whisper, and heads turned. He looked different than the boy everyone knew. He was a self-made millionaire now, back from Silicon Valley, dressed in a crisp suit that shimmered under the sunlight. In an instant, he made his way to her, and the stares of the crowd were heavy with judgment, some out of admiration, others out of skepticism. "Sarah," he said, his voice firm and warm. "Can we talk?" Sarah's heart raced. She had heard whispers about him, the successful tech guy who found wealth and left the town behind. Her first instinct was to retreat. She didn't need pity. But there he stood, eyes filled with sincerity, and she felt pulled into a whirlwind as they walked away from the crowd. He turned to her and shared his own story of hardship, how he worked odd jobs, rode the bus to school, and faced the same financial challenges she did. "It takes grit to rise," he said, locking eyes with her. A flicker of hope ignited in her heart, but it was overshadowed by the reality of her own life. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Jake paused, taking a deep breath. "I want to offer you a scholarship, a chance to chase your dreams, to go to college." The words hung in the air like a fragile balloon, and suddenly, the soft laughter and cheers from the graduation crowd faded away, becoming a distant echo. Sarah felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. "I can't," she gasped, shaking her head. "I don't want charity. I want to earn it myself." The pride that had been her shield now scratched against the vulnerability of the moment. But as she looked at him, she saw compassion. He understood. The unfairness of it all crushed her. Classmates sailing toward futures as she clung to hope in the grip of despair each day. Her mother's sacrifices grew heavier on her heart. Jake leaned closer. "Sometimes it's not about how you get to the top, but who's there to lend a hand along the way." His words haunted her, twisting her heart faster. The struggle felt ever present, as if the world was mocking her dreams. Yet here he was, offering a path. Amidst the clamor of celebration, something shifted between them, a connection born from shared battles. Sarah felt a moment of clarity, a spark kindling hope against the storm. Could she really accept his help? It was a question that loomed above her, waiting, essential, and undeniable. Sarah looked at Jake, the weight of his offer pressing down on her. His eyes were earnest, full of a light that suggested he truly wanted to see her succeed. But could she allow herself to accept such a grand lifeline? She instinctively clenched her fists, anxiety stirring within her. "I don't want to owe anyone anything," she finally whispered. The crowd around them swelled with laughter and celebration. Yet she stood encased in a bubble of uncertainty. She could practically feel the futures of her classmates crash against the reality of her circumstances. The thought of leaving her mother behind, of the sacrifices they'd made, tightened her chest. Jake took a small step closer, as if attempting to bridge the emotional distance. "You wouldn't owe me anything. This is an investment in your future, not a handout. You deserve this opportunity." His tone was softer now, underscoring the urgency behind his words. Sarah sighed, her heart battling her pride. Her mother had always said pride was a double-edged sword. Could elevate you, but it could also bring you crashing down. "I want to be strong for my family," she said, the truth of her struggle spilling out. I can't let them down. It's just hard. He nodded, allowing her words to linger. I know. I get it. I was in those shoes once. But you have to think about your future, about what you can achieve beyond this town. You have potential. As he spoke, she felt the bitterness soften a little, the edges of her doubt blurring into something more malleable. Could she really follow the steps that led to stirring dreams and bright horizons? Would it be so bad to accept help in order to rise? Jake glanced briefly at the crowd, then back to her. I want to help you build something amazing. The passion in his voice ignited something deep within her, a flicker that danced against the shadows of her fear. For the first time, Sarah allowed herself to envision college not just as a place, but as a chance for growth, an escape, a way to break the chains that had held her family down. Perhaps Jake could be right. Maybe this was how she could rise, not just for herself, but for her mother, for all the sacrifices they made together. Can I? The question nearly caught in her throat. Is it possible for me to earn that scholarship? A grin broke across Jake's face, and Sarah felt a warmth envelop her that she hadn't expected. Absolutely. I can help connect you with mentors and resources. This is just the beginning. Suddenly, Sarah's mind began spinning, imagining the possibilities. But in the same breath, the doubt crept back in. What would her friends think? What would her mother say? Just as she opened her mouth to voice another concern, someone from the crowd called out, drawing their attention. Hey Jake, the whole town's buzzing about you. What are you doing with our local girl? Sarah could feel the weight of the gaze from the crowd. Judgments and assumptions danced in the air like a thick fog. Jake shot her a reassuring look, and something inside her shifted again. If you're ready, the path will show itself. But it's up to you, Sarah. As they stood there, uncertainty mixing with hope, she had to decide in that moment. Would she step forward or stay rooted in place, tethered to the familiar? The thrill of possibility coursed through her veins, demanding that she choose to leap. But the voice of her upbringing whispered caution in her ear, urging her to tread carefully. What would she ultimately decide? And could she truly face what came next, even if it meant risking her pride? Jake's eyes widened with unfiltered hope, and Sarah could see the flicker of belief in his gaze. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on her chest. The laughter and celebration around them felt distant now, as if they were trapped in their own world of conflicting emotions. Okay, Sarah finally said, the word coming out more decisively than she expected. Okay, I'll try. I'll meet with the mentors. The words were like stepping stones, guiding her towards a path she had never dared to envision. Jake's grin widened, and she felt a sudden wave of relief wash over her. That's amazing, Sarah. You won't regret this. I promise you. The sincerity in his voice wrapped around her like a warm blanket, staving off the chill of doubt that clawed at her insides. Yet as excitement bubbled and brief elation momentarily replaced her fears, a darker shadow flickered in her mind. What if she was getting in over her head? What if she wasn't smart enough, good enough? What if she let everyone down? Wait, she said, her voice shaky. Isn't this just going to set me up for failure? What if I can't handle it? Jake didn't take a step back. Instead, he leaned in closer, and his look felt grounding. You won't fail. Just look at everything you've accomplished already. This is your chance to build something even greater. As the words sunk in, a realization sparked. She had spent so long being the daughter who took care of everything, always trying to be the pillar for her mother, for everyone. But maybe it was time for someone to believe in her, to help lift her. The voice of her mother echoed in her thoughts words about courage, about seizing opportunities, about not shrinking from who she could become. What if Sarah could be a testament to that, a living proof of what could happen when one dared to dream? A knot of anticipation twisted in her stomach, and behind it was that familiar feeling of fear. Could she really do this? Jake placed a hand on her shoulder, and warmth radiated from the touch. Let go of that fear, Sarah. Use it as fuel. You have everything within you to succeed. Just take one step forward. As she met Jake's eyes, she saw something she hadn't noticed before. It was a challenge. Promise. a belief that they could build a future together, no matter how daunting the path. Before she could stop herself, Sarah smiled. It was small at first, a hesitant flicker, but Jake's encouraging nod pushed her to broaden it. Suddenly, all the worries collided with this wave of newfound courage. "All right then, let us do this," she declared, the weight on her shoulders lightening even as a new responsibility settled in its place. But as excitement roared through her, the crowd around them swelled again. Familiar faces turned toward her, expressions a mix of confusion, judgment, and curiosity. She shot a glance at Jake, who seemed unfazed, but a shiver of anxiety raced down her spine. Would they support her leap or tear her down for trying? As their eyes raked over her, making assumptions, she felt vulnerable, exposed. "Just ignore them," Jake said softly, reading her expression. "This is your moment. You decide how it unfolds." With a deep inhale, Sarah faced the crowd, the fire of determination igniting within her. But in the back of her mind, a whirlpool of possibility and fear still swirled. What awaited her on this path of ambition? What sacrifices would she have to make, and would they be worth it? If she stepped out into a wider world of possibilities, could she truly open the door to her future without losing sight of who she was? The air hung heavy with possibilities as Sarah squared her shoulders and faced the crowd, her heart dancing between hope and trepidation. She could feel their gazes like 1,000 tiny pinpricks against her skin, each one whispering doubts more than encouragement. The laughter and music faded into a dull hum, leaving her thoughts loud and chaotic. "Just breathe," she told herself, though it felt like a mantra too weak for the seismic shift about to happen in her life. Jake stepped closer and whispered, "You got this." The warmth of his voice nestled in her ear, a gentle reminder that she wasn't alone. As the words settled in, she felt the stir of a newfound power rise within her. For the first time, her heart didn't just race with fear, but with an electric anticipation. Taking a step forward, Sarah lifted her chin high and scanned those staring faces. Some held their curiosity eagerly, while others appeared skeptical, as if her determination was an invitation to doubt her every move. "Hey everyone," she called out, her voice surprisingly steady. The crowd hushed, leaning in, caught between skepticism and intrigue. "I know this might seem sudden, but I've decided to pursue something that matters to me. I'd like to meet with some mentors and learn as much as I can." A murmur spread through the crowd. Surprise, disbelief, and a hint of admiration mingled in the air, creating a strange cocktail of emotions. Sarah's heart raced faster. She wasn't backing down now. She took another deep breath and, against the stillness, unleashed the words she longed to share. "I'm ready to work hard and chase my dreams. I believe in the potential for change, for growth, for success." The word success lingered like a promise. Some faces softened, while others remained indifferent, yet she managed to capture a few friendly nods. Jake's eyes sparkled, reflecting pride. "That's it. They're listening." And just like that, a shift occurred. A voice from the back broke through the tension. "Are you sure you know what you're getting into?" It was Ethan, a boy from her school who never missed a chance to challenge her. The doubt in his tone cut deep, but she straightened her spine. "Absolutely," she shot back. "I faced challenges before, and I've never backed down. This is my choice, and I'm going to own it." A ripple of surprise spread through the crowd. Some exchanged glances that held a hint of respect. Jake's smile widened, transforming into a supportive beam that fueled her fire. "Yeah, you tell him," someone called from the side, and Sarah felt a rush of encouragement fill the moment. It was only a few voices, but in that small victory, she found comfort, a reminder that she could carve her own path as her resolve grew. The thrill of stepping into unknown territory surged within her, her doubts nestled deeper. What would it take to succeed? The mentors she'd meet, the wisdom she'd absorb, would it really bring her closer to her dreams, or would it only magnify her fears? Yet despite the uncertainty swimming in her mind, she felt an inkling of excitement pulsing through her veins. That fire danced. It whispered promises of transformation, of strength, of life beyond expectations. With her heart steadying, Sarah turned to Jake. catching the glint of shared determination in his eyes. This was a leap for them both. She was ready to embrace it. But just as she began to bask in this moment of empowerment, a sharp tap on her shoulder startled her. She turned to see Ms. Wallace, the guidance counselor, standing there with a surprised yet hopeful expression. "I heard you," she said, a small smile breaking her usually stern demeanor. "I'd love to help you navigate the mentors. You might just surprise yourself." As Sarah processed Ms. Wallace's words, exhilaration clashed with uncertainty again. Was this the first step towards her dreams? Or could she still stumble at any time along the way? Gripping Jake's hand tighter, she whispered to him, "What if this is harder than I thought?" "Then you adapt and keep moving forward," he replied, his confidence filling the air like a shield. And Sarah took a step into her future, but what awaited her beyond that first meeting with the mentors? Would she find guidance, or stumble upon obstacles she never foresaw? The maze of ambition stretched before her, filled with shadows and light, and the choices she made would define her next chapter. As Sarah turned her attention back to the crowd, her heart still thrumming with adrenaline, she saw a flicker of encouragement. Some were smiling now, their skepticism gradually melting away like ice on a sunny day. But just as quickly, she felt her insecurities clawing back. Was it really possible to be taken seriously? "Let us take it one step at a time," she muttered, looking at Jake, who nodded knowingly. His presence strengthened her, wrapping her in a blanket of support. "Let us meet Ms. Wallace," he suggested. "She seems like she believes in what you're doing." Sarah clutched his hand and felt the warmth radiate between them. As they made their way to Ms. Wallace, Sarah could feel the weight of a million expectations pressing down on her shoulders. What if she didn't live up to their faith? What if she failed before she even started? The guidance counselor led them to a quiet room away from the buzz of the crowd. It smelled faintly of lemon-scented cleaner, the soft click of the door signaling a transition. "Take a seat," Ms. Wallace said, gesturing to 2 chairs across from her desk. Sarah felt the cool surface beneath her as she sat. This was different from her usual study spots, drenched in chatter and distraction. The quiet here was almost soothing, providing space for her racing thoughts. "Now tell me what you're passionate about," Ms. Wallace encouraged, leaning forward with genuine interest. Well, Sarah started, her voice wavering slightly. "I want to dive into creative writing. I want to speak about my story, but also about the stories of others." "Beautiful," Ms. Wallace responded. "Stories can change hearts and minds. Have you thought about what kind of mentors you'd like? Maybe people in publishing or journalism could help." The concept electrified Sarah. A direct line to her dreams. Ms. Wallace scribbled notes, already mapping out possibilities. But just as quickly as excitement bubbled up, doubt crashed into her. Publishing was a competitive field. Did she truly have what it took? "What if I'm not good enough?" she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "What if I chase this and I fail?" Ms. Wallace's expression softened. "Sarah, every successful person has faced doubts. The magic happens when you don't let those doubts win. Every step you take is part of your journey. You'll learn and grow regardless of the outcome." Sarah's heart swelled with something she hadn't felt before: hope. Maybe she could make this work. Maybe she could change the narrative of what her life could be. "Okay," she finally said, a flicker of determination igniting in her eyes. "Let us do this. I want to find mentors, learn from them, grow." "Great," Ms. Wallace replied, smiling brightly. "I know a few people I can connect you to right away." As they discussed tips and resources, Sarah felt her fears ease a little. With each word, she imagined the path ahead: the workshops, writing groups, and perhaps even the chance to publish her work one day. Before she knew it, time had slipped away, and the door swung open. Jake leaned against the doorframe, a proud look etched across his face. "You did amazing in there," he beamed. "Thanks," she said, grinning back at him, her excitement bubbling over. "Feels like a real start. But what happens next?" Jake asked, his expression shifting to a playful curiosity. "Have you thought about the crazy things you might learn or who you're going to meet?" As they walked out together, Sarah could already imagine faces in those meetings. The writers she'd read about, perhaps even someone who would help her shape dreams into reality. Each step outside felt like stepping into a wider world, bursting with potential. But then she paused, the world seeming both vast and overwhelming. What if she misjudged those mentors? What if they shattered her dreams instead of building them? Taking a deep breath, she looked at Jake and said, "No matter what comes next, I have to be ready for anything." Jake nodded. "That's the spirit. Just remember, this is just the beginning." And Sarah suddenly felt the heaviness of decisions hovering above her like dark clouds. What uncharted territories would she face on this journey? Would she find the support she needed, or would she face the unexpected alone? With her heart racing, she stepped into the sunlight, unsure if she was ready or if it was all too much too soon. But one thing was clear: this was a journey of transformation waiting to unfold. What new revelations awaited her as she ventured into the world? As Sarah stepped onto the bustling sidewalk, the sunlight caught her by surprise, refracting through the canopy of leaves above. She momentarily squinted, feeling the warmth wash over her. All around her, life pulsed with relentless energy. People laughed, cars honked, and the sweet scent of food trucks wafted through the air. Yet, among this vibrant chaos, she felt an unsettling mix of excitement and fear. "Let us grab a coffee," Jake suggested, noticing her hesitation. He gently tugged on her arm, urging her forward. "I bet a caffeine boost will help you brainstorm who you might want to connect with." She wasn't too sure how coffee could soothe the storm brewing inside her, but the thought of being near Jake made her feel a touch braver. They found a small cafe tucked away on a corner, its atmosphere cozy and inviting. The barista greeted them with a warm smile, and suddenly, Sarah felt hope bubbling back to the surface as they settled into a small table by the window. The chatter around them faded into a comforting hum. "So what's the first step?" Jake leaned in, genuinely curious. "Have you thought about who your mentors might be?" Sarah bit her lip, her mind spinning with names and possibilities. "I think it would be amazing to meet someone like an author whose work I admire. Maybe they could give me a glimpse into the industry." "Absolutely," he encouraged, a spark lighting up his eyes. "Didn't you mention that you're a fan of Marissa Fine? I heard she's doing a talk next week at the local bookstore." Her heart raced at the mention of Marissa. "Yeah, I've read all her books. I could never afford to go to one of her events, though." A tinge of disappointment seeped into her voice. "Who knows?" Jake shrugged, a sly smile curling on his lips. "Maybe you can find a way to get in. You're a writer now. Besides, what's stopping us from reaching out directly? You could ask her questions through social media. Authors love connecting with readers." Sarah's mind whirled. Reaching out felt daunting, but there was something liberating about the idea. "You really think I could?" "Why not? It's worth a shot," he said, lifting his latte in a mock toast. "To taking risks." She chuckled and clinked her cup against his. "To taking risks." With a boldness she didn't know she possessed, Sarah decided she would indeed send Marissa a message. Inspired, she started listing out potential mentors that filled a page in her notebook. Local writers, editors, even podcasters who discussed the craft. Each name invigorated her, building a mosaic of connections that felt tangible. But after a moment of excitement, self-doubt threaded into her joy again. What if these mentors saw her attempt to reach out as silly? What if they didn't have time for her dreams? That pressure loomed heavier now, threatening to pull her back into uncertainty. "You okay?" Jake's voice snapped her back. "You seem lost for a second." I can't shake this feeling that I'll mess it all up," she admitted, feeling vulnerable. "What if I don't fit into this world?" Jake's expression softened as he reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "Remember what Ms. Wallace said? It's a journey. You won't know until you try. And hey, even if someone doesn't respond, just take it as a sign to keep trying." Encouraged, but still uncertain, Sarah smiled weakly. "You're right. I just need to keep moving forward." After savoring their drinks, they emerged from the cafe, the afternoon sun streaking through the branches above. But as they walked down the street, Sarah spotted a flyer for a local writer's workshop. The very mention of it sent a thrill through her. "Look," she said, pointing. "They're hosting open sessions for new writers next week. I should go." Jake flashed a proud smile. "That's the energy I'm talking about." But deep down, Sarah resisted the urge to leap in, the anxiety creeping in again. She could feel the tug of a million what-ifs compelling her to hesitate once more. Did she truly have what it took to pursue her dream, or would fear paralyze her? As the evening approached, casting long shadows on the ground, Sarah paused outside the workshop's entrance. Taking a deep breath, she inhaled the possibilities hanging in the air. Would she dare to step inside, opening the door to something new and unknown? In that moment of clarity, she felt the weight of her choice. Moving forward came with both promise and risk. What awaited her inside those walls? Would it become a stepping stone on her path, or another door that would lead her to doubt? Jake, sensing her uncertainty, turned to her with a knowing smile. "You ready for this?" With her heart pounding, Sarah whispered, "Let us find out." And as she pushed the door open, the world shifted with an electricity of hope and trepidation, revealing just how transformative this journey could be. What new paths would unfold before her now? Inside the workshop, the hum of conversation enveloped Sarah like a warm embrace. Writers mingled, sharing laughter and exchanging ideas, their passion hanging thick in the air. It felt alive, as if the walls themselves buzzed with creative energy. She stood just inside the entrance, clutching her notebook tightly like a lifeline. "See? You made it," Jake whispered, giving her a gentle nudge forward. "Just breathe." As she stepped deeper into the room, Sarah blended into the crowd of hopeful writers. She could see some sitting cross-legged on the floor, others engaged in animated discussions over coffee. She felt a flutter of nerves mixed with exhilaration. This was where she belonged, wasn't it? A woman behind a podium cleared her throat, drawing everyone's attention. "Welcome to the workshop, everyone. My name is Laura, and I'm excited to guide you through today's session." Her enthusiasm shone brightly, instantly making Sarah feel a touch more at ease. "Today, we're diving into character development," Laura continued, her eyes sparkling. "Think about who your characters are and what they want. Let us break into small groups and share ideas." As the participants rearranged themselves into clusters, Sarah found herself in a circle with a diverse group. There was Marcus, an older gentleman with a gentle smile, and Jessica, a spirited 20-something who wrote poetry inspired by her travels. They greeted her warmly, and Sarah's nervous energy began to fade. They introduced themselves, sharing snippets of their writing journeys. When it was Sarah's turn, she hesitated but then blurted out her desire to write stories that resonated with real emotion. "I just want to make people feel something," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's beautiful," Marcus said, his eyes twinkling with understanding. "Stories have that power to connect us. We all need that." As the group discussed their ideas, Sarah started feeling a shift within her. Each voice in the circle encouraged her to embrace her dreams. She shared her vision of reaching out to authors like Marissa Fine, and their positive responses lifted her spirit. "Why not brainstorm some specific questions you could ask her?" Jessica suggested. "It might just spark the conversation you need." With each question posed, Sarah found herself surrounded by a flurry of ideas. What would she ask Marissa about her process? How did she handle rejection? What inspired her to keep writing? The encouragement from her peers filled her with determination. After the discussion, Laura announced a writing exercise. "I want each of you to write a short piece based on a character's pivotal moment, something that changes their course in life. You have 30 minutes. The challenge electrified Sarah. She grabbed her notebook and began to scribble furiously, determined to capture that rush of creativity. Words flowed as she weaved together a character whose fears mirrored her own. With every sentence, she felt lighter, more empowered as they regrouped to share their pieces. Sarah felt a pang of vulnerability wash over her again. The thought of exposing her writing to others sent a wave of doubts crashing in. But she looked at Jake, who was nodding encouragingly, and steeled her resolve point one by one. The group shared their stories, each piece rich with depth and emotion. They applauded one another, creating an atmosphere of safety and inspiration. When it was her turn, Sarah took a deep breath and read her piece aloud, her heart racing. As she spoke, she noticed the room shifting, people leaning in, engaged, nodding in understanding. When she finished, the silence was palpable for a moment, before everyone erupted into applause. Sarah's heart swelled as she beamed, feeling pride welling up inside her. This was validation she had long yearned for. Maybe she could carve a path in this world after all. But then, amidst the applause, a man in the back caught her eye. He was slightly older, with a thoughtful expression. As the room began to settle, he stood, looking directly at Sarah. "Can I speak to you for a moment?" There was something compelling in his tone, and a flutter of anxiety returned. Who was he? As Sarah stepped down from the podium, her heart raced once more. What could this stranger want? Was it good news or another layer of uncertainty? "Who are you?" she wondered silently as she approached him. Would this moment lead her deeper into her passion or away from it altogether? The possibilities stretched before her, uncertain yet tantalizing. What awaited her next? As Sarah approached the man, her mind raced. His presence was magnetic, an anchor in the swirling sea of emotions that had enveloped her. She took a deep breath, trying to mask her nervousness. "Hi there," she managed to say, her voice steadier than she felt. "Hello," he replied, an easy smile breaking across his face. "I'm David. I couldn't help but be moved by your reading just now. You have a real gift for storytelling." A blush crept into Sarah's cheeks. Compliments were one thing. This felt like a spotlight. "Thank you," she stammered, her heart fluttering. "I'm still figuring it all out." "I get that," David said, his expression turning earnest. "But it seems to me like you're on the right path. There is something you're tapping into, and I'd love to help you explore it further." Curiosity sparked in Sarah. "What do you mean?" He glanced around the workshop, lowering his voice slightly. "I work in the publishing industry, and I've spent years mentoring young writers. I see potential in you, and I think I could provide some guidance." Her heart raced. This was the kind of opportunity she had once only dreamed of. "Really? I mean, yes, I'd love that. But how do we get started?" "Let us set up a time to chat," David said. "We can discuss your ideas and aspirations, and I can offer feedback on your work. What do you say?" "Absolutely," Sarah replied, her excitement bubbling over. The thought of discussing her writing with someone seasoned in the industry felt surreal. "Thank you." "Great." He pulled out his phone and quickly exchanged contact information with her. "I'll reach out to schedule something. Just remember, this is more about your voice than anything else. Hold on to that spark." As he walked away, Sarah felt a rush of exhilaration wash over her. This was the moment she had longed for, the chance to dive deeper into her passion. Her mind raced with possibilities. What would they discuss? What if she found the courage to chase her dreams beyond just this workshop? "Did you get his number?" Jake appeared beside her, a broad grin on his face. "You looked like you were about to float away when he talked to you." "Yes," Sarah exclaimed, her joy bursting forth. I can't believe it. He wants to help me." "That is amazing, Sarah." Jake's eyes sparkled. "You deserve it. This is just the beginning." The atmosphere of the workshop felt electric, like the aftermath of a lightning storm leaving hope in its wake. As the group wrapped up for the day, Sarah felt a sense of kinship with the other aspiring writers. Each of them was navigating their own journey, but the path ahead seemed a little clearer now. Later, as she walked out of the building with Jake, her mind whirled with possibilities. She took a deep breath, determined to embrace whatever came next. "Feels like everything is about to change. Just remember to stay true to yourself," Jake reminded her. "That's what makes your writing special." She nodded, feeling his words anchor her amidst the cascade of excitement. As they reached the parking lot, a thought struck her. What if I asked David about networking too? I could meet other writers and build connections. "Definitely," Jake said. "It's about lifting each other up, right?" As they got into the car, the sun began to set, casting a golden hue that felt like a promise. Sarah's mind drifted back to her character, the one she had crafted so beautifully during the writing exercise. What kind of pivotal moment awaited her in her own story? What's next for you? Jake asked, looking at her with genuine interest. I guess I need to refine my questions for David, she replied, excitement bubbling within her. And maybe write something new, something bolder. But even as she spoke, doubts crept in, whispering fears of inadequacy. Could she really live up to his expectations? As she gazed out the window, her heart fluttered with hope and anxiety. The story she longed to tell was blossoming, yet the fear of failing still loomed. Would she conquer that fear and embrace her passion fully? With the sunset behind her, she couldn't shake the feeling that the next chapter of her life was just starting to unfold. What challenges and triumphs awaited her? And would she seize this chance or let it slip away? The following days felt like a whirlwind for Sarah. Thoughts of her upcoming meeting with David consumed her time, turning her excitement into a blend of anticipation and anxiety. She tapped her pencil against the notepad at her apartment, scribbling down potential questions and story ideas. But her hand wavered as doubts flooded her mind. Was she good enough? What if he didn't see the potential he claimed to see? Seriously, you're overthinking it, Jake said, lounging on her couch, clearly more relaxed than she was. He took a bite of the pizza they split, his eyes glancing toward her scribbled notes. Just be yourself. You've got a voice that deserves to be heard. Sarah looked up, a hesitant smile breaking through her anxious facade. I know, but what if I freeze up when it counts? Or worse, what if I disappoint him? Jake sat up, his expression turning serious. What you need to remember is that every successful writer started somewhere, and they all faced their own doubts and fears. Allow yourself to take that leap. You can't let fear dictate your next steps. His words hit home. She needed to believe in herself. You're right, she said, her resolve strengthening. I can't let this slip away. They spent the next hour brainstorming ideas for Sarah's new piece. She visualized a story about a girl battling her fears and discovering her voice amid chaos. The words flowed more freely now, igniting a spark inside her. She jotted down new lines, feeling clarity emerge from the chaos. The day of her meeting arrived. Sarah stood in front of her bathroom mirror, taking a moment to breathe deeply. She wanted to project confidence, even if her heart was racing like mad. When she stepped into the small cafe where David had suggested they meet, she spotted him seated at a corner table. Sarah. He greeted her warmly, and it felt as if a weight lifted just hearing her name spoken so kindly. They exchanged pleasantries, and she soon found herself discussing her stories as effortlessly as sunlight streaming through the window. David listened intently, nodding and smiling as she shared snippets of her work and ideas. For the first time, she felt seen. Your passion is contagious, he said after she finished. Are you ready to dig deeper? I can help you hone your craft, but the first step is always the hardest. The conversation flowed, and she asked questions about writing, the publishing world, and how to build networks. David shared stories of authors he had worked with, their journeys, and the inevitable challenges they faced. Each story provided hope. Each piece of advice felt like a stepping stone. Just when she thought she couldn't be more inspired, David leaned in, and with a glint in his eye, said, I see real potential in you. Let us set some goals for your writing. I'd like to offer you the chance to submit your work to some of my contacts. This is your moment. Sarah felt a surge of emotion. Her eyes widened slightly in disbelief. Are you serious? You'd really do that for me? Why not? He replied, a smile softening his features. You've got the spark. It would be a shame to let it go dim. The enormity of what David was suggesting pressed on her chest with thrilling weight. She wanted to jump up and shout. Yes, but all she could muster was a breathy, thank you. As they wrapped up the meeting, Sarah couldn't help but feel like the world had shifted in her favor. But as she walked to her car, excitement battled with an undercurrent of fear. This opportunity was bigger than she had ever grasped. Would she rise to the occasion? Would her voice finally be heard? With unresolved questions buzzing in her mind, she drove home wondering how she would translate the chance David had offered into something tangible. The stakes were now higher, but the prospect of failure seemed dwarfed by the thrill of potentially achieving her dream. What if she could finally bring her stories to life in a way that touched others? What if David's faith in her was the key to unlocking her true potential? As she parked, a wave of determination rolled over her. She decided right then that there was no turning back. But with each step she took toward her next chapter, a question echoed in her heart. Would she have the courage to follow through? In the days that followed her meeting with David, Sarah felt a shift within her. A confidence began to take root, amplifying like the morning sun breaking through clouds. Every morning, as she sat at her desk, she filled page after page with her thoughts and ideas, diving into the essence of stories waiting to be told. The spark ignited by David's faith became a blazing fire, illuminating paths she once thought too narrow to tread. "Get ready for greatness," Jake teased one afternoon as they sat at the cafe, her notebooks scattered across the table. "You're going to conquer the world of writing, and I'll be your biggest fan." She laughed, the lightness in her heart more buoyant than ever. "You better believe it. I'll need someone to handle all my fan mail." She joked back that as she formed connections with other writers through workshops and online communities, the world began to expand, becoming fuller of possibilities. Mentors started to offer their insights, and each shared experience resonated deep within her. The connections were like threads weaving into a tapestry of dreams, threads that felt stronger with every passing day. But even with burgeoning success, shadows of fear still loomed. The same whispers that once gripped her heart sometimes returned, questioning her worth, the validity of her voice. The fear of failing to meet expectations, of letting slip the opportunity she had been given, was a nagging weight she couldn't quite shake off. One evening, feeling overwhelmed, Sarah reached for her phone and opened up to Jake's message. "Let us go watch the sunset. I'll bring the snacks." His cheerful tone warmed her heart, pulling her back from the edge of worry as they settled on a grassy hill overlooking the horizon, the colors of the sky bleeding into one another. Sarah took a deep breath. She shared her feelings, the vulnerability spilling out amid laughter and warmth. "Everyone faces doubts, but that's what makes the journey real," Jake said, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Think about it, every single writer has their battles. You're not alone." Sarah nodded. "Felt good to share." "What if I don't make it?" she asked gently, the fear creeping back. "What if my work isn't good enough?" "Then you grow, you learn, and you try again. This isn't just about the destination, it's also about the journey. It's the connections you make along the way and the impact your words can have. Plus, you have me in your corner." His confident smile shone like the sun piercing the fading twilight. She took his words to heart. Maybe each small step, each written page, every connection was a building block for her future. Not a guarantee of success, but an important part of the process. With renewed determination, Sarah embraced the next stage of her journey. She submitted her work to David. She submitted it to different publications seeking new voices. She reached out to her newfound community, brave enough to ask for feedback and insights. And then, the magic happened. One sunny afternoon, while she was immersed in her writing, her phone buzzed. It was an email notification from David that made her heart jump. With hesitant curiosity, she opened it, and her hands froze over the screen. The words glared back at her. "I'm proud to inform you your piece has been accepted for publication." A wave of disbelief washed over her, then a rush of joy. She dropped her phone, clamping a hand over her mouth to stifle the gasp escaping her lips. Finally, she jumped up, doing a silly dance around her room, laughter spilling forth. The weight of her fears began to lift, replaced by the exhilarating sense of accomplishment. Later that night, she called Jake, a mix of excitement and disbelief coursing through her. "I did it. I did it, Jake." She could barely contain herself. "Sarah, that's incredible," he cheered, his enthusiasm ringing through the phone. "I knew you could do it." And in that moment, standing with her heart open wide to the world, Sarah felt an overwhelming surge of gratitude. To Jake, to David, to every person who had whispered encouragement when her own voice had faltered. She realized that achieving her dreams wasn't just about her. It was about the community that had rallied around her, urging her forward. Days stretched into weeks, and as her work circulated, Sarah found herself stepping into a role she never anticipated: an advocate for others like her. She organized writing workshops in her small town, encouraging others to find their voices, to chase their dreams, no matter how out of reach they seemed. At her first workshop, under a banner that read "Stories Unite Us," she felt the familiar flutter of fear. Yet standing before a room of eager faces, all waiting for the spark to be ignited, she smiled wide. "You belong here," she told them, her heart full, her voice steady. "Your stories matter." With each story told, she felt herself transform further, no longer the girl who stood shyly on the edge of a graduation stage filled with doubt, but someone who embodied the resilience of the journey she had forged. Overcoming had become her anthem, and she was not alone on this path. As she wrapped up the workshop and saw the expansive smiles around her, she paused to reflect on how far she had come. The fear that once held her captive had turned into a driving force, urging her to embrace not just her own narrative but the narratives of others, ensuring no one felt alone in their struggles. This was her moment. This was her journey. It was a powerful testimony to community, transformation, and the power of sharing stories. And so, with heart open wide and the world beckoning, Sarah stepped forward into her future, ready to embrace every challenge, every story, and every change that awaited her. So now, dear friends, reflect on your own journey. What stories do you want to share? You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support the stories that resonate. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us empower each other together. We can build a community of voices ready to rise.